With Tesla's incredible run in 2023 from those lows up almost 100%, and with Apple being up almost 25% from the beginning of the year, the question needs to be asked, which one of those two stocks is going to return better for the rest of the year? Will Tesla just continue to scorch Apple in every way like it has so far? Or are all the bears right, and the bulls who used to be bears right, and Tesla is due for a huge fall down? Therefore, Apple would be the big winner because they basically stayed steady through the entire crash time of 2022, so there's no reason to think that they can't at least maintain or maybe even thrive in 2023. Heck, even if Apple did fall, I don't think anybody thinks it's going to fall nearly as hard as Tesla may fall if they fall at all. Well, of course, you guys know Wall Street has an opinion on this, and so let's talk about it. And of course, I give you my take on all this as well. I just ask in exchange for you to gently tap that like button and consider subscribing to It's Super Easy to Do if you like the truth without the hype. And remember, I have opened up a light membership to my group for those of you guys where I know it's kind of expensive for the regular membership, but there is a lower tier that you now can buy into for $9 a month. So it's basically like, 30 cents a day or something like that. And that gets you access to a few hundred videos. And I basically put 3 to 5 videos in there each week. And of course, you get a live Q&A as well, where you can ask me basically anything. So you can check out a full membership or this new light membership using the pinned comment down below and see if it's right for you. All right, so let's jump into this and see exactly what they got to say.
It's time to focus on tech. Joining me right now, Dan Ives, Managing Director, Equity Research at Wedbush Securities. We have so much to discuss. First of all, the game was a great game. I loved how close it was. But so much of this is about Rihanna's Apple streaming halftime show. 28.5 million viewers, just shy of last year. But this puts Apple, this is the first time, because it used to be Pepsi, this puts Apple on the map in a new way, right?
Well, I think that's a statement that Cook is trying to make in Cupertino, because they're investing significantly, I think, in the future in what's going to be live sports. And I think this is really just the first step to them in a broadening marketing campaign where others are pulling back. They're doubling down. But I think this really speaks to streaming ambitions, live sports, with NFL, obviously, one of the areas as well as others around the world.
So there we are right there. You're already hearing some things about Apple's future and basically where they're wanting to go. Now, I understand Apple keeps everything kind of secret. Everything's kind of more of a rumor than actual truth with Apple. So it's really, really hard to kind of figure out where exactly they're going and such. But as they'll see here further on, I believe he makes some more points as well. Streaming and live sports streaming, because of course, they have Apple TV and some of their other shows and such, and they've not been as successful. It's so profitable, it just has not been nearly as successful as a lot of other folks have done. Obviously, they're looking for other ways to go, and live sports clearly is a direction they're looking to go into.
And so as 28.5 million households tuned in addition to that, Dan Ives, so many Google searches, curious to find out more about Rihanna. And as they find that out, they're coming across Apple's name. This is a big push in marketing for Apple. It says 10 million we're searching on Google, curious about Rihanna, whether she's pregnant, see parts of the show, whatever. But this has got to be a big...
I don't know. People like to Google strange things. What? Okay, I don't know. I guess it's free advertising for Apple either way, or not free. They paid for it, but anyways, that was just strange. I don't know. Kind of caught me off guard there. Hey, wow. All right. Things people search on Google. I have no idea. Jeez.
For Apple, was it a good decision?
Well, it's a huge bet, and I think it was just a massive strategic move that ultimately is going to pay dividends for years and years to come. I mean, look, $250 million that they're spending if you look at the next 5 years. It's money well spent, because when you look at Apple right now, this is the opportunity to further flex their muscles, expand their install base, but also it's about streaming. It's about, you ultimately look at the services. That install base continues to be the key. Even what we're seeing in this macro, I think last night was a flex the muscles moment for Apple.
Interesting. So at this...
Dan makes a great point right there discussing actually, what they're looking at in regards to what their future revenue drivers are. What happens if iPhone sales do slow? Not that they're not going to continue to be great, but what if it's just not as quick as before? And that's kind of where that services and the other product lines that they have that are doing well, but they don't make up disproportionately amounts of the income that comes in, unlike the iPhone that makes up a disproportionate amount. That's another place where they're definitely looking to grow that. So that way, as I guess eventually they're going to saturate the iPhone. I have no idea. We say that every year, yet it doesn't happen. More and more people buy iPhones every single year. But at some point in time, they know, hey, you're going to reach that kind of saturation point, and you want to start kind of growing these other services that are kind of coming up, much higher margin than the iPhone is and a lot of other things are and such, to kind of, fill in that gap or be the revenue driver of the future, instead of just relying on old reliable that's been there, honestly, the past more a decade plus now. So Great point there, and that's exactly what I believe Apple is trying to do, is kind of looking 5 years down the road and kind of going, all right, 5 iPhone cycles later, we need to have these services and these other platforms up and moving and creating a lot more revenue than they are right now. And so they're making a big play towards that.
Now, we think about the AI race and using AI to make products better. Apple, no different. But where do they fall in the AI race? I mean, Microsoft really started out with Chat GPT, and Google sort of debuted their Bard, which didn't do as well. You have Baidu and Baba trying to get in on this. I mean, where does Apple stand in the AI race?
I think right now in the stacking order, Microsoft is clearly winning. I think Nadella, with the Chat GPT acquisition, miles ahead of other competitors. Google, that was clearly a black eye in terms of what we saw last week with Bard and some of the queries that came out of that. Look, Apple, I think they're going to reveal that in the summer timeframe.
All right. Yeah. I'll give you a quick take here on ChatGPT. I know a lot of folks ask and such. We've covered it in our group on probably 3 live streams and put out a video as well, just to kind of, I won't say put it to bed, but at least let my opinion out there be known. It's great. It's definitely a huge step in the right direction, but to think it's going to kill all Google's business and Google is done and everybody that doesn't have ChatGPT is just done and it's over with. It's just kind of like the folks who were saying, oh, Tesla's going to take over and by 2025 ICE is all going to be bankrupt and there's only going to be Teslas on the road. It's not happening. Tesla's doing awesome. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking Tesla at all or anything that they're doing, but I just thought that narrative was comical. And this is kind of following that same exact narrative. I kind of think of it as the metaverse last year. All the hype around that and all the stocks that were metaverse stocks, and where are all those stocks now? Did the metaverse take over this year? I'm still not using the metaverse. Neither is anybody else. Meta, who was a joke of the metaverse race, even though they called themselves Meta and everything else, and everybody was saying, oh, this company's going to crush Meta, that company's going to crush Meta, hasn't happened. So I think kind of AI and the rush to AI and all that sort of things, we're early. It's too early, honestly, to kind of declare who the winner is. You can definitely tell who the leader is so far, but they haven't monetized it and they haven't figured out how to actually gain market share and take away market share from the other competitors. How's it going to be implemented? Is it going to become commoditized to where it doesn't matter? A lot of questions like that around this. So it's something that I'm not really putting a lot of thought into right now in terms of, trades today and how it affects everybody today. It's still too early in the race. So as you can see right there from Dan's list, it shows you that Apple is going to outperform Tesla in terms of percent gain this year from, basically from this point forward, not for the whole year, just from this point forward. That's exactly what that shows. Now, I'll give you guys my take there at the end as to what I think is going to happen, but there it is right there. You can see exactly what he thinks he's happened. So essentially there's a little bit more upside, about 10% more upside there on Tesla or so. And then obviously Apple is a 15% or so upside there from where Apple is today.
A lot of their AI efforts. We think they've been spending 8 to 10 billion on it. If you look at the last few years, this is going to be significant how they're going to integrate AI into their iPhone, into their ecosystem over the coming years. Even though Apple's been silent here, I think they're watching others come through, but they're going to be a major player, I think, along with Microsoft when it comes to this AI Game of Thrones battle.
Yeah, that's a key point right there that he makes. Apple holds all their cards tight and they work on stuff in secret. It never, the truth never seems to leak out and such. And so I absolutely know that they're working on it in the background. The question is, how far along are they? What do they have? Is it going to be as good as everybody else's? I think even more importantly than that, what Apple kind of tends to do is, even though their product may not be as great, it may not have all the bells and whistles of this product, what they make it is it integrates so well with its own products and its own ecosystem, which is kind of their, I won't call it their niche, but I don't know how else to say that. It's kind of their niche is kind of, hey, you can have this product over here and it plays really great in, kind of by itself over here. But then when you go to integrate it with this, that, and the other, it's not as great. It's not as fluid, or it doesn't integrate at all, as opposed to Apple will integrate it through the entire ecosystem that they have there, which is one of the reasons why I'm willing to take a little bit less if it works across the board or benefits all the different devices that I have and everything else that I use in my daily life and such. So I think that's probably how Apple is actually working on it and actually trying to get it improved and kind of get it through there. But we won't know until they let us know, what the heck's going on. But there's no doubt in anybody's mind, and I don't think anybody can make a reasonable case that they're not working on AI in the background there. And of course, we know Tesla's also working on the background as there, and we'll get into Tesla here in just a second. He gets into that commentary too.
I'm looking at all your tech coverage here, some of the names, most of which are outperforms, and I see the price targets. Do any of these price targets, these are your 12-month price targets where you think fair value is, do any of these price targets feel like reaches? You have a 225 for Tesla, you have Microsoft 280, Apple 180, Uber and Salesforce were in there too as outperforms. Are you comfortable with every single one of those price targets, and do you have more of a bullish case than bearish case on most of these names?
Yeah, I think if anything, they're actually conservative. I mean, that's sort of my view. And obviously, you've talked for years. We've seen ebbs and flows in terms of tech. I think right now you're really starting to see that risk on trade start to happen. You look at names like Microsoft, names like Tesla and others. And I think we're really in the start of, what I believe is overall tech stocks will be up, potentially 30% this year, especially with many yelling fire in a crowded theater, as we've seen over the past month.
You seemed very comfortable last time we spoke about Apple, so I won't, beat the same story here, but you did talk about the holiday season and that it wasn't a demand issue, it was more of a supply chain issue. So you're very confident in the product line, the 14 Pro demand that you see. Any final thoughts on Apple before I move on to Tesla and some of the other names?
I would just say Asia checks are not showing major demand cuts. And if you look at where we are today, the bears would have thought that you already would have cut 10, 15%. Instead, we haven't seen any. Now, I'm not saying they don't cut a little in terms of the macro, but I think that's important in terms of this rocket Gibraltar tech name that continues to hold in, despite many skeptical on it. And I think this is one that's, as many have talked about, I think will again be a $3 trillion market cap.
Yeah, I won't argue there at all. You guys know Apple's my favorite. But really, they haven't, cut guidance. They basically put out during their earnings call that it was much more due to supply than it was demand. And so far, they have been spot on earnings, basically, since before the pandemic, and have continually beat and continually to put out good numbers and continually to put out a good narrative that they've executed to. So there's no reason not to believe them to this point, that it's nothing more than exactly what they say, given their track record in the past, and given the fact that it's not like Apple likes to, play Mickey Mouse games with Wall Street and stuff like that. They generally are pretty straight up, and when they say they're going to do something or something's happening, generally that's the case, and that's exactly what happens. And they do a very good job of communicating that. So I'm not going to argue there all the way around. $3 trillion market cap. I hopefully it gets there at one point in time. Not quite there yet. Got quite a ways to go till we get there. Obviously I stand to benefit hugely if it does that. So long way to go, but yeah, I would absolutely say they're on track for that, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happened in the future. Now, when? Who knows? Nobody, good luck guessing that sort of stuff. Everybody says they know. They're wrong. You're 50-50 at best. Good luck with that. I don't have any interest. I know 3 to 5 years from now, I'm going to be a very happy shareholder in Apple unless something fundamentally changes with the business. So outside of something like that, I think we're on a good pace there with Apple. But let's get over to the Tesla side here and let's kind of see what he says about that. And then we can kind of tie it all together.
I see Elon Musk sitting there watching the game yesterday for Tesla. It's amazing because Tesla really doesn't advertise and they don't have to buy those ads. Instead, Elon Musk just goes to the game. There's the ad. Tell me, do you still think Tesla's a big hit?
There you go right there. 100% true, by the way. It's the only company in the world I can think of to where the CEO is such a celebrity, and he chases celebrity. Don't get it twisted. He chases celebrity. However, it's the only company in the world that can do that and basically save the hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing costs that everybody else has to put into, especially given the size of the company. That's what you'd have to spend in order to get that sort of market look and that sort of attention on your brand. All you got to do is just show up to the Super Bowl and have a good time. And there you go. It's the it's one of the talking points the very next day, probably all over Twitterverse and all the other, I don't even know what the heck all the social medias, whatever. Anyways, it's all over that sort of stuff. You can't miss it.
But, the big ad from GM, for example, all about moving into the world of EVs. Is that only more and more good for Tesla because they're the leader and will continue to be so?
Yeah, look, Tesla demand right now is 2x production. And if you look what's happened in China and even the U.S. since the price cuts, those have been home run successes. That's why the stock really is up the way it is. And they're able to do it at that margin level, which I think no one thought was possible. You got March 1st Analyst Day, which is another catalyst, more battery technology. But I'm bullish on GM as well. It's not a zero-sum game. I think there's this tide, I'll call it a green tidal wave. It's going to cause many to benefit, including GM in the 313 area code, like Ford as well.
All right. Now, I know that can be controversial here, and hopefully I'm able to articulate this point well. I have never thought it was going to be a one-horse race to the finish line on the EV deal. One, I've always thought it was going to be a much longer 2030 to 2050 timeline for the U.S. to go fully electric. If I had to guess, I'd put my money on 50 versus 30 in regards to the U.S. going full electric. And two, there just has to be more than one winner in this race. There's probably going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I don't know which, U.S. automakers are going to make it out of the group. However, they all are going to receive government backing. They all are going to receive some sort. And by the way, that doesn't matter who's in office. They're going to receive some sort of a backing to save those companies and such. And I just think there's going to be multiple winners in this. Not that Tesla won't be the leader, not that they won't be the best out of the group, not that dynamic won't flip. At some point in time from them being the little guy and the GM and Ford and those other ones being the big guys to the opposite. But to just think it's just going to go 100% Tesla and everybody else just goes away, to me has always been a ridiculous argument from the start. They'd be the largest. Anyways, it doesn't even matter. They couldn't. I'm not sure they could ever create enough production to actually fill that void if they were truly 100% of all the vehicles that need to be produced in the U.S. in a given year, or I guess really the world at that stage, for them to fill that demand void that would be there if those companies just went away. So I do think others are going to benefit. However, I do find it funny that, basically, there was, I don't know how many ads, but somebody threw it up there. There was a ton of EV ads, which apparently there was last year in the Super Bowl. But yet, the production of GM and Ford and all those compared to Tesla is just laughable in terms of being behind and such. So do I think people ever get there? Yes. Do I think a lot of things stand in the way in the meantime and multiple companies get there as well? Yes, Tesla is definitely going to be the leader in the end, but it's not going to be this, crazy 100% Tesla or 98% Tesla, 2%, other folks or whatever the case is like that. So I think that's kind of where Dan Ives was going with that.
So is it a good buy to buy Tesla ahead of that March 1st date?
Well, I think that's another catalyst. I think Tesla continues to be one. Many are skeptical of the rally we're seeing, like broader tech. And I think Tesla is one that continues to move higher here because of production and because of demand post price cuts.
Yeah. And, people are saying he was a genius by cutting those prices. And to your point, they still have the margin, whereas some of the other companies do not with price cuts on the vehicles, right? They were able to cut the prices and still make money. Let's move on to the Uber Lyft story.
So obviously he's bullish on both Apple and Tesla, and obviously they are both two very, very different companies. However, they both kind of fall into that mega cap territory to where, like it or not, fair or not, whatever the case is, especially as Tesla kind of becomes more than a car company over the course of the next few years, you're going to start seeing comparison, or if Apple dives into the car realm, those comparisons are going to start coming together and start having a more and more of a debate, more and more of an argument there. So in regards to the question that we posed at the beginning, for 2023, which one is going to return better in that short run? And I hate making short run predictions. You guys know that. I really do it. Nobody really knows in the end what's going to happen, obviously. But if I'm having to guess, hey, I got to put all my money on one or the other, got to do it. Which one's going to return better till the end of the year? I'm going to go with Tesla. The reason why is the safe bet is Apple, obviously, because it's going to grow slow and steady. I think eventually it's going to stagnate. I think eventually they're going to have a miss or two on earnings, which they already just had close to one here. I think we're going to see some sort of I won't call it stagnation. The bar is just too high for Apple at this stage, and it's just going to be really hard. I don't want to say they necessarily need a reset. However, it's hard to impress after so many ridiculously impressive quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter performances. And more importantly, the stock price basically staying afloat during the entire time, where basically the entire rest of the market, and large cap tech specifically just got beaten into oblivion. Apple skirted all that pain during that time. So in terms of return here moving forward, Tesla, got to remember last year, in June or July, no, it was July, August. I don't remember when exactly, but last summer, that's what I should have said in the first place. Last summer, Tesla hit $300 per share. And it's in a far better spot this year than it was last year during that time in terms of performance, demand. Everything else is in a far better spot this time around. So to me, there's no reason why a run up to 300 plus is not just crazy talk. That happened in the middle of an epic crash, which, by the way, we made new lows in the market in October, and Tesla managed to hit $300 in between. So to think with, the macro getting better here at the tail end of the year, and maybe the Fed cuts, once or twice. I'm not sure. I don't believe that narrative as much as I believe they'll just hold it steady through the end of the year. But at least they've stopped and they're holding steady. And as long as the numbers continue to look better, I see no reason why, Tesla can't run well past 300, into, maybe even looking at all-time highs again by the end of the year. I don't want to say that. I'm not sure. A long time to go to get there, and a lot of things have to fall in place in order for us to get there. But would I be surprised to see Tesla, at that 280, 300 mark, and seeing Apple, maybe it hits 180, maybe it hits a new all-time high. But in regards to return, that return for Tesla from where it is now, right around $200 up to 300, obviously just crushes, Apple going from the 150s to the 180s or so, 190s, wherever it ends up falling out there, even if it gets to $200, which by the way would be a huge feat. But let's say that it does. Tesla is still returning better, hitting that $300 plus mark by the end of the year. So if I'm guessing, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm betting. So hopefully this all made sense, was helpful. And, make sure you check out that link down there. If you want to take courses, get access to me 24/7, have access to our Discord and all our other 6 and 7 figure investors, more than 1,000 of them, and all that good stuff, make sure you sign up for the full membership there. And if that's not right for you, or if it's just too expensive, I understand completely. Take that light membership there, where you get several hundred videos that you can access, 3 to 5 videos every single week I will post in there for you guys. They're not regular videos. Those are absolutely, educational. They're about earnings calls. They're about everything and anything in between that kind of happens that day. Some of them are, 6 minutes long. Some of them are 25 minutes long. Just depends on the subject matter. No fluff, no YouTube BS or anything else, nothing like that. Just check it out. It's the pinned comment down below. And click right here if you want to see the 10 most important stocks in the stock market this year. And click here if you want to see what my exact plan is for the stock market this year. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.